Paul, can you tell us what were the key drivers for undertaking the T-Spark project?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the ways that we can best explain this is to, if I use this poster because we have it, and take you through the project aims really. So if we look at the project aims, and there are 4 of them, and I'll take you through each one in turn. Project Aim 1 was about informing programme design activity through the enhanced provision of pertinent information. And what that means really is we did our review in 2009 and we asked people to tell us about their lived experience of curriculum design. And when I asked programme directors, thinking about all the information that you might need in relation to designing a programme, is it all in one place? Do you know how to get hold of that information? And sometimes people would laugh at the suggestion. So one of the things that we wanted to do was to try to have almost like a one-stop shop in terms of the sorts of information we might gather, and that's information around sort of for pedagogical support, market research support, being able to get statistics in relation to progression, retention and things like that, and sort of all the details, external examiners reports that's underpinned existing programmes, or with certainly with the marketing stuff, new programmes as well. If we move forwards to Project Aim 2, which says redesign of the ICT infrastructure which underpins the workflow, the curriculum design and programme approval process. What that's about really is being able to use the affordances of technology to make things a bit more efficient. People knew that there were documents that got created, and sometimes those documents sat on people's hard drives. If you ask people to say where's the most recent document, they wouldn't go to a university repository, they'd go to their own machine, and we had people reinventing documents and so forth. When you started exploring technologies such as SharePoint to share documentation, it became clear fairly quickly that SharePoint could do more than just host documents, and that it could do some really interesting stuff with workflow and automate with email and things like that. So we've tried to produce a system that, as much as we could, would automate the production of documentation and to use some of that workflow and automation of email to keep people in the loop. Think about the third project aim, which is electronic support for course team dialogue during their programme design activity. That pretty much does what it says on the tin. And if we ask people, do they get enough time and space to design curricula effectively? I think the answer was, well, somewhat effectively, but certainly not optimally. And although we don't really believe that doing all this stuff virtually, completely virtually, is the answer, we did think that being able to offer it as an adjunct to face-to-face meetings would create more time and space for people to get together. And again, once we started getting into that, what we found was that not only did it give time and space, it produced a really interesting and useful audit trail of the design process. And because the design process becomes evidenced through this system, what we're then able to do is to begin to, as part of the approval process, look at the process of design and not just the products of design, and that begins to really shift the philosophy of what the project is about. And if we then look at the final project aim, electronic representation of programmes and underpinning evidence at and leading up to the point of approval. It's kind of a long discursive aim there, but really what that's about is understanding that what we want to show is some of that stuff around process over or in addition to product. And again, it emerged from our review in 2009 where we asked people, to what extent do you feel that the textual artefacts that you produce and you take forward to programme approval actually give a good representation of all the work that you've done and everything you're trying to do, and be able to communicate those ideas. And people who again were somewhat cynical as the degree to which those documents become the entire picture. Here though, what we have is we encourage people to append all sorts of files and media to evidence their rationale for programme design, so those conferring approval at the point of approval can have access to all of those kind of conversation activities and reassure themselves that the programme teams have done a good design job. So that in essence, in terms of our project aims, and they were conceived right at the beginning and they've stayed constant throughout, and I think we've done a fair job at delivering against all of them in one way or another. So that's really what underpins the project.